Kamala Harris has had ample opportunities, ladies and gentlemen, to lock this down, to secure it. I mean, she's got Beyonce, I guess, that just signed on to come do a big shindig with her. She's had all the celebrities. I mean, Taylor Swift, you name it, right? And she's not able to secure this? Why not? Why not? And I don't buy that it's sexism. I think she's just not really that good at delivering a message. And I think that's the problem. I think we saw evidence of that, did we not, in the CNN debacle that was last night? I mean, wow, what the heck did she mean by this one? Let me start off with this little number.
Is there something you can point to in your life, political life or in your life in the last 4 years, that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes, and they range from, if you've ever parented a child, you make lots of mistakes too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
So, okay, there you go. She doesn't know the issues. She doesn't know any of the issues. I mean, this is why they haven't been able to put her out there. You compare and contrast her, say, with Donald Trump and how much he loves talking about tariffs. He got into it, little fisticuffs going on stage in Chicago at the Chicago Economic Club, because the reporter, the very proper British reporter, was trying to tell him, hey, this is like Smoot Hawley all over again. You're going to suffocate the economy, the U.S. economy, the world economy. He's like, no. That's not what's going to happen at all. And he proceeded to give his spiel. And it was an entertaining and educated conversation between two people who did have different views on tariffs. But could Kamala Harris do the same thing? Absolutely not, because she doesn't eat, sleep, and breathe policy. That's the problem. I don't think she understands any of this, any of it at all. She just thinks, big government can just give away. And that's going to lead to all kinds of problems. We've already seen it. What do you think the Inflation Reduction Act did other than create more inflation? I mean, she doesn't have a clue. Again, another example. They're on CNN.
So I may not be quick to have the answer as soon as you ask it about a specific policy issue sometimes, because I'm going to want to research it. I'm going to want to study it. I'm kind of a nerd sometimes, I confess.
Right? She just keeps saying that, I need to work on it. I need to work on it. I don't know. I think that she needs to work on it some more, okay? Just a little bit more. Go read a few books. We don't get the impression that she's all that smart. Compare and contrast, say, with Hillary Clinton, that nobody really liked either. I get it. Different kind of campaign, different kind of candidate, but you never doubted her intelligence. You may not agree with her policies, but you knew that she was the kid in the front row, right? So, me, I know the answer. Hillary Rodham knew the answer. And so you didn't have the same kind of hesitations, at least I didn't, about Hillary Clinton. But when I see the word salad on display over and over again, and her inability to actually answer the tough questions. I mean, heck, look, she couldn't get through that interview with Fox News and Bret Baier, nor could she get through this debacle of a town hall last night. That's what actually has me concerned, because this is a woman who didn't pass the bar exam, who didn't go to a great law school, it's ranked 80 something, and couldn't even pass the first time around on the bar exam. I mean, that tells you something, does it not? CNN, I think, is pretty much over her.
Focused a lot more on Donald Trump, I think it's fair to say, than she did on many specifics in terms of what she would do.
If her goal was to close the deal, they're not sure she did that.
No. Oh, Kamala. You got to close the deal. But instead, we're now looking at new polls that shows something entirely different. In other words, the CNN anchors, they're kind of in a position where they can't really cover for her anymore. Everybody's been trying. I mean, CBS is out there creatively editing clips, apparently. You know, you saw the first, and then you saw the second. You saw the first that aired on Face the Nation, then you saw the second that aired on 60 Minutes, and they basically chopped it up, sliced and diced that thing so that she actually sounded like she made some sense. You know, the media is covering for her. They're trying. They're carrying her. They're pushing this 800-pound gorilla right up this hill. Like they can't do it anymore, which is what you hear there in all this fact checking from CNN. I mean, they've just they've had it. I mean, what are they supposed to say? It gets a little embarrassing after a while. It's kind of like what we saw with Joe Biden. Remember when they just couldn't take it with Joe Biden anymore? I mean, this is what's going down. And so they had this guy on fact checking her in real time on CNN. Let's take a listen.
So first, let's listen to a claim the vice president made about her policy shift on fracking.
I've been very clear we can dispense with this in 2020. I am not going to ban fracking. I did not as vice president. In fact, as vice president, I cast the tie-breaking vote that now has opened up more fracking leases.
And you point out, too, when you were running for vice president in 2020, you were not talking about banning fracking, but...
No, Anderson, I pledged that I would not ban fracking.
Right, I know.
It is not true that Harris pledged in 2020 that she would not ban fracking as president. Her campaign has explained that she was referring to her comments in a VP debate with Mike Pence. But here's the thing about that debate. Nowhere in it did Harris say she had changed her own previous 2019 support for a fracking ban. What she did say in that debate twice was that Joe Biden, the head of the Democratic ticket at the time, would not ban fracking himself. I have the quotes here. She said, Joe Biden will not ban fracking, end quote. And then she said, quote, Joe Biden will not end fracking. He has been very clear about that, end quote. She didn't say Kamala Harris wouldn't ban fracking as president. That made sense at the time. He was the candidate. But contrary to her claim tonight to Anderson, she did not pledge until this year that she personally would not support a fracking ban. Now let's listen to something she said tonight about former President Trump's border wall.
This is good.
Remember, Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on, they didn't. How much of that wall did he build? I think the last number I saw is about 2%.
It is true Mexico didn't pay for the wall. That 2% figure, though, is at least somewhat too low. Trump repeatedly said on the campaign trail in 2015, 2016, that we need 1,000 miles of wall. And during his presidency, 52 miles of new wall were built where no wall existed before. So even that is more than 5% of his pledge. And he also built an additional 406 miles to reinforce or replace previously existing border barriers. Much of that replacement wall, guys, was significantly bigger and more daunting than the previous barriers. So I think you could argue it should count too. Now, finally, let's play something the vice president said about Trump's 2017 tax cuts.
Sadly, Donald Trump, when he was president, gave tax cuts to the richest, to billionaires and big corporations, which added trillions of dollars to our deficit.
It is absolutely true that, according to independent analysts, the wealthiest Americans got the biggest benefits from those Trump tax cuts. So Ms. Harris' claim is not false, but I think it's worth noting something she...
No, that's not true. Not if you lived in New York, okay? Not if you lived in New York or California. I mean, only if you moved to Florida, then you got a benefit, okay? But actually, the wealthy in some of these liberal states wound up paying so much more because they could no longer deduct their taxes. But let's continue listening.
Didn't mention, and that's that Americans of all income levels got tax cuts from this 2017 law. The Nonpartisan Tax Policy Center found in early 2018 that the law, quote, will reduce individual income taxes on average for all income groups and in all states. The think tank estimated that about 65% of households would get a tax cut in 2018, and between 60 and 76% of taxpayers in each and every state. So yes, indeed, the rich were the biggest winners from Trump's tax cuts, but it certainly wasn't just for the rich.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so that was pretty brutal. But you know what? She deserved it. She deserved it. Here's another clip.
With the Supreme Court being plagued with issues, would you be in favor of expanding the court to, say, 12, so each justice has only one circuit court other than Chief Justice to assist in making judgments more balanced?
Well, to your point, there is no question that the American people increasingly are losing confidence in the Supreme Court. and in large part because of the behavior of certain members of that court and because of certain rulings, including the Dobbs decision and taking away a precedent that had been in place for 50 years, protecting a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. So I do believe that there should be some kind of reform of the court, and we can study what that actually looks like. But I do believe. But again, let's just, while you raise the point of the court, understand that, again, in 13 days, the American people will decide who is the next president of the United States. In 13 days, you will decide who is sitting in the Oval
so she's
Office.
pivoting again. But you heard what she said, okay, guys? This woman wants to study the reform of the court. Translation? She wants to pack the court. And they say that Donald Trump is the one that's going to mess up the whole system? I mean, come on.